Hi there, lovely. When I was something like 15 or 16, I got kicked out of the house for eating a tomato. And as ridiculous as that sounded, it is actually a true story. I was furious in the way that only a teenager with raging hormones could be. I was livid. I slammed my way out of the house, slammed the door behind me, and I was storming off across the drive, effing and blinding, going, what on earth, absolutely ridiculous. And I heard the door open behind me, and this voice shouts, "Give us your key." And so I turned round and took my front door key off my key ring, flung it back at the house, and said, "Take your fucking key." I was almost demented with fury. But that was just one story of many that littered my childhood and particularly my teenage years. Before I go any further, if any of this is resonating with you, if something in you just recognise that feeling, I've got something for you. It's a free guide which is called 10 Things I Wish Someone Had Told Me About Grey Area Drinking. The link is in the description box below. Go and grab it, it's yours, no strings attached. Now, I guess you probably weren't kicked out of your house for eating a tomato. But I'd be willing to bet that somewhere underneath your drinking, there's that same feeling, a similar experience maybe. It's a longing to belong, to feel safe, to finally be somewhere that feels like home. Now, 2 years before that, at the age of 13, I had my first drink on the way to the disco. And one of the things that happened there that stayed with me essentially for decades was that for the first time in my life, I felt completely free. I laughed, I talked to boys, I danced like nobody was watching. I just had this feeling of genuine joy and liberation. And whilst the alcohol kind of facilitated that ability for me to relax and be myself, it actually, underneath that, was that feeling of belonging that really hooked me in because I was with people that I was connecting with. I was talking to boys, I was laughing with my friends, and that hadn't been me up until that point. So alcohol was a real kind of lubricant to allow me to get my shoulders to drop and to have fun. But I spent the next several decades of my life trying to get that feeling back, pouring it into a glass every evening at 6 p.m. after work and wondering why I never had that feeling again. Because what I thought was that I was craving wine, but I wasn't. I was craving love, belonging, connection, that feeling of being safe somewhere. Alcohol was just the only language I'd ever learned for that need, but I was never capable of meeting it. And if you're a grey area drinker, the chances are your drinking really isn't about the drink either. Because if you're anything like me, life probably looks fine on the outside. You're functioning, you're capable, you're holding it together, you're doing a responsible job. But underneath that, there's this ache. And 6 p.m. rolls around, and that ache gets a little bit louder and a little bit more painful, and something in you reaches for that glass without really you making a conscious decision to grab it. And here's the problem: alcohol can't ever give you what you're actually craving. it mimics that belonging. I know so many of us used alcohol, and perhaps this is you, to create that intimacy with partners, but it only lasts for a couple of hours and then leaves you more depleted and more disconnected than you were before. It is a genuinely terrible answer to a very real and very human need. So, what do you do instead? You start by being curious, not judgmental, just curious. The next time that craving hits, when you think, I want wine, just take a breath for a moment and ask yourself one question. What is the most loving thing I can do for myself right now? Not the easiest thing, because the easiest thing isn't always the most loving thing. Just the most loving thing. That question is the foundation of everything that I teach. It's why my business is called Most Loving Thing. Because once you start to ask that question, everything begins to shift. And it isn't always an easy one when you have to say to your partner, darling, I love you, but stop bringing alcohol into the house. But if we want to live authentic lives and we want to be free of alcohol, like I'm sure you do, then doing the most loving thing can never steer you in the wrong direction, because that question changed everything for me. And it didn't start out with a sort of dramatic rock bottom or a catastrophic moment, but just with a tomato, a slammed door, and a key flung across the driveway by a furious teenager who just wanted to belong somewhere. She deserved better than that glass of wine, and so do you.